Hello everyone, today we will be tackling about the main components of the refrigeration cycle. Our discussion will concentrate mainly on mechanical refrigeration system, which is usually called the vapor compression. So before anything else, let me give you a brief summary about the development of refrigeration. So preservation of food is one of the most important functions of refrigeration. Refrigeration was first used in China that they discovered that ang ice is maka-improve sa taste sa drinks. And nowadays, refrigeration is not only used for the refrigeration of food, but it is likewise used in different fields like chemicals, metals, medicines, gases, machines, tools, and electronic devices. The mechanical refrigeration system or vapor compression system nasa upat ka stages taking place in evaporator, compressor, condenser, and expansion valve. Refrigeration cycle is the main basic cycle for all air conditioning and refrigeration equipment. Here I'll explain the refrigeration cycle. At point 1, it is called the evaporator. It is a cooling coil that works as a heat exchanger. The low-pressure liquid refrigerant moves through the cooling coil or vapor. Tapos mag-absorb siyang heat from the foods placed inside the refrigeration cabinet. As the liquid refrigerant absorbed heat, it changes to vapor. And then, iyan na siya moadto sa compressor. The low-pressure gas refrigerant is drawn into the compressor where it is subjected to high pressure due sa compression process done by the piston or cylinder unit of the compressor. Tungod sa pag-compress, the low-pressure gas refrigerant increases its pressure and also its temperature. So at point 3, it is called the condenser. The condenser, as the name suggests, it simply condenses the refrigerant. It is a heat exchanger and rejects heat from the refrigerant to the atmosphere. So, ang high-pressure gas refrigerant passes sa condenser where heat is discharged and the vapor changes back to liquid. Pero, this liquid is still high pressurized. At point 4, the expansion valve, the high-pressure liquid refrigerant passes through the expansion valve and thus ma-reduce ang iyahang pressure dayon, and then the pressure decreases, lowers the temperature of the liquid refrigerant even more, and then it is now ready to pick up more heat again, and the entire cycle is repeated.
Evaporator. It is a coil of tubes where heat is being absorbed in order that it may be moved and transferred to the condenser. It is known as freezer, cooling coil, or chilling unit. It can be found on the low pressure side of the system. So this evaporator is the freezer, cooling coil, or chilling unit. So siya ang mupabugnaw sa heat that will absorb going to the condenser. That's why it is the low pressure side of the system. Next is compressor. It is referred to as the heart of the system. The compressor compresses the low pressure gas refrigerant into high pressure gas refrigerant, thus increasing the temperature. It also lowers the pressure in the evaporator and keeps the refrigerant moving in the system. So, before musulod ang pressure sa evaporator, this compressor is the one who lower its pressure first. Also, it controls all the pressure that will enter into the system. That's why it is called the heart of the system. So, condenser. It is also a coil of tubes where heat being absorbed in the evaporator discharges into the atmosphere. It can be found in the high pressure side of the system. So condenser is the one who discharges or releases the heat that was being absorbed. So it is the high pressure side of the system. Next is expansion valve. So expansion valve is the metering device that controls the flow of refrigerant to the evaporator. It reduces the high pressure liquid refrigerant to a lower pressure liquid refrigerant into the correct quantities to operate the system maximum efficiency and without overloading the compressor. Expansion valve is the one who controls the flow of refrigerant to the evaporator that all pressure that will enter will be equilibrium or balance to avoid overloading.